Hello and welcome to JRock's Babylon. I am your host, Jason JRock Houston, and we have with us today the lead singer and guitarist and principal songwriter for the band, the Dead Cowboys. Now, I understand the band is now going by the name Bobby Jensen and the Dead Cowboys. Want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, how you guys doing? Again, thanks for having me on. Like I mentioned in the last interview, I was talking about how there was confusion with other Dead Cowboy bands that
Yeah,
that were out there, and it's like the record company and I and their management decided instead of chasing them down and putting cease and desists on everything because there's just so much there's so much stuff online that you can't delete that even if you went after them they wouldn't be able to get rid of it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so the main problem wasn't that they were out there. It's just that, like, for example, on my Facebook story, if I made a post and I put my song on there, if somebody clicked the song, it went to a whole different band.
yeah.
And we were like,
I think I shared this with you the last time I interviewed you, Bobby. Because I was just learning about the band. I never really heard about the band, so I wanted to do some research before talking to you, before we did the interview, and it was amazing all the different bands that came up. Now,
it
with
brought you to
that,
someone else.
yeah, yeah. With that being said, in fact, I remember during the first interview I did with you, I was asking you about some songs that I listened that were by the Dead Cowboys, and you said, "Oh, that's another band. That's not our song." That was
Yeah, right.
it's a bit embarrassing
Right.
because I'm like, I usually do my homework, but
Nothing you can do. Like I said, it's nothing you can do if you don't know, and that's what was happening with a lot of fans.
uh-huh.
And then, the other thing is because people online are easily distracted by a squirrel. It's probably be amazing how many people started watching this interview who aren't already,
Yeah, yeah,
who
yeah,
have
yeah,
moved
yeah,
on. So it's like
yeah,
something catches their attention and they go on to something else that even when telling them, hey, check this out,
yeah.
click the link, nobody ever clicked the link. And we did a study on it. And it's like, let's let's just stop, or let's present the product where the people stop. And when they're checking out videos of my hair on fire and all that stuff, why not just, here's the album, it's Bobby Jensen, and the album is called Dead Cowboys, and check it out there. And the response was the right thing. No matter how
It
much
really, it
I
really is. You're smart in a lot of ways, and I will say this: the interesting thing about it is, I mean, that tells you. I mean, you picked a great name that all these other bands picked the same name too. But with that being said,
right.
it's kind of like I've been doing research on how to get YouTube numbers up and stuff, and it's interesting. Like I tell you, like people, like you say, it's kind of stupid, but people need to be reminded things like that. One thing I was told that, well, you need to have like a flashy looking button that says subscribe so people know to push that. Like, okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about the latest single video. I call it like a mini film, and I know that's what music videos are supposed to be, but you really take a lot of pride in your video. The latest one is for the song The Lake. You want to talk a little bit about what the song's about and the making of the video?
Yeah, well, the video was made by the guy who made our first two with Super Country Cowboy and Bad Friends and Good Times. And we were discussing, like, should we pick another song, and what should we do? And I mentioned to him, I said, a lot of these songs could actually tie into making a long story,
Yeah.
like you and I talked about in the last one. They're cool adventure songs that kind of blend into each other, and that wasn't intentional. It wasn't that I was out to put together a concept album,
Yeah, yeah,
which
yeah, yeah.
basically it wrote itself. So we did a thing with the lake, and I said, how about we do it and we make a continuation, and we put the songs that do work together out as singles, where in the end they'll make one complete story. And so I picked the songs. I said, let's start with the lake, since that's kind of where the train robbery is, and the dead cowboys kill everybody on the train and take their souls. And then they go to town. And after that, they kill the preacher, and well, they don't kill the preacher, they kill his family, and they take all of his stuff. And And so the preacher sells his soul to the devil, and that's called The Devil You Know. And that's the transition that's not on the album. And that's going to go from the lake to the demon desperado. And that's where the preacher turns into the demon desperado,
Wow.
loses his mind, and not only chases down the Dead Cowboys, but he kills everyone in town. He goes
Wow.
completely
Wow.
batshit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It reminds me what Guns N' Roses did back in 1991 with the Use Your Illusion albums. Like they made these epic videos for "Don't Cry," "November Rain," and "A Stranger." They were all supposed to kind of connect and tell a story.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool. And I also was reading the guy that did the video. Um, Supposedly also worked on Judas Priest Painkiller video, which is kind of interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, he does a lot of those videos, and he's worked with Overkill, Motorhead, D. Snyder. The list goes on. Wasp.
How did
Everybody
you hook
that
up with him? Just
has
a
like a.
matter of reaching out to him and saying, "Hey, I got this video." like the,
It was through my first PR people in London who
oh,
introduced me to him, and
yeah,
so we started talking, and then the record company decided let's work with him and make this collection of videos. So the lake, is cool, man. The animation, it's something that would have cost us maybe I don't know because I
yeah.
don't film movies, but probably we could have easily spent $1 million making a live action
Yeah. Now let me
thing.
ask you: is the video itself? Maybe it's a combination of both. Would you call it animation? Is there any CI stuff going on in the video?
No, that's all hand drawn.
Oh, amazing! Wow. See, it looks kind of
So
like it's animated, but that's why I asked. I wasn't sure, and it's a
so
beautiful video. I urge
I
people to
don't
go
know
check.
exactly what he does because I'm not in London sitting with
Sure,
him while
sure.
he's putting it together.
And that's amazing. He's all the way in London, and you're here in the United States. And I imagine when you get the final product back, you're like, wow, man, this is beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. And, I told him in the beginning, I said, I'm a creative person. I have a lot of ideas, but I really want to leave it up to his interpretation. So we kind of discuss a few things, kind of, keep it in this realm. And what's really cool and amazing is that being in London, he's got a great grasp of the American West. And when
Sure.
you see these other videos, it'll blow your mind. But at the same time, I say that just a little bit south of him is Spain, where they filmed all the spaghetti westerns anyway,
Oh,
Clint
wow.
Eastwood and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. So the album, The Dead Cowboys, actually hit number 6 in Europe as the new band heavy metal thing.
Wow.
So I'm very proud of that it actually caught on there, and
Congratulations.
it's
Wow.
because of they're all still really invested in taking in new music and giving it a listen, and they have a thing about them. The magic is still alive about our American West,
Yeah.
Tombstone, Red Dead Redemption video game, things like that. So it's working out in my favor, I
Because
guess.
I got to tell you, I don't know if this what you think about this, but I was so caught up in watching the visuals of the video last night and prepping for an interview today that first of all, my first impression was like, wow, this is more like watching a little kind of mini like a classic Wild Western um, movie, and yet it's just a music video, and I found myself getting more caught up with watching the visuals and actually listening to the song.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's perfect, man. Because as long as people get into it, you're buying into the story, whether you're seeing it or listening
Yeah,
to
it's
it.
it's like happens. That's what I want people to kind of understand when they watch. It kind of happens subconsciously, not even really aware at the
Yeah,
time.
yeah, and then it's over, and you're going, well, what? It's to be continued. So I think it's in 2 weeks, The Devil You Know will be released. And
Wow,
then I think 3 weeks after that, we're releasing The Demon Desperado. And then on 420, we're releasing Mexico. So
wow, wow.
you
Okay,
you
yeah.
can
Well,
have
good.
you
I
can have your
promise.
Mexican, yeah,
Yeah,
man.
I'll tell you what, Bob. If you're willing to come back on the show, I'd love to talk about both those videos as you roll out the final one. Um,
Yeah, we should
but
because
yeah,
like you and I talked about the first time, we both grew up at a time when we were into Kiss and
Yeah,
Evil
yeah.
Knievel
Cooper,
and
everything was big
Smokey
in
and the
the
Bandit
yeah,
and
yeah,
all that stuff. So people, this is for us. This, like I said before, this music and the visuals aren't for everybody. We're
no
like an inclusive club
crowd.
of you and I who played in the dirt as kids and
Yeah,
ran the shit out of our General Lee cars,
sure,
and
sure,
you
yeah.
know, and so we can relate to it in a way that,
Others can't.
yeah,
It,
to them they
yeah,
just hear the stories about the great times we had. you
you
know
know, I'm a little older than you, Bobby, but I'll tell you what. I think what's interesting is we're at a time in the, I don't believe rock is dead, as they say, but I think we're in an interesting period because me myself personally, a lot of my heroes are either at the age where they're passing on or they're retiring. So a lot of those classic rock groups that we grew up on, they're kind of, they're kind of fading away. Yet at the same time, there are great new bands that are popping up. I believe we're at a time in, the rock world where there's going to be like the new breed, as they say. And I think, I think like your band, the Dead Cowboys, Bobby Jensen, the Dead Cowboys, excuse me, and like right up there with the band like the Dead Daisies. I mean, you guys are going to be part of that new breed, I think, of future rock legends.
well, as long as we're part of something, I'm into it.
It's some kind of scene where they're really listening and checking out. Let me ask you, as far as the album, is it just available digitally, or can people get hard copies of it?
Yeah, they'll be able to get hard copies. Since we rebranded, we're remanufacturing stuff.
Makes
So
sense. Yeah, yeah,
they'll
yeah,
they'll be they'll be on the website here within a couple weeks where people can actually buy physical product. But otherwise, yeah, everything's on all the social platforms, the
yeah.
Spotify, all
And I
those
don't know if you
things.
even thought about this with the rebranding and stuff. And like you explained top of the interview, something you really kind of had to do because people are checking out other bands called the Dead Cowboys and they're thinking it's you and vice versa. But um, with the rebranding too, I don't know if you even realize this. The like original printing of the album is going to become a collector's item because
Yeah,
it's the original name.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So that'll be cool if anyone wants to collect it.
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
know, you
Who
might get
knew?
a couple bucks for it.
Yeah,
But I'm happy about the way the business is. Like you're bringing it up that it's kind of different, but when I was a kid and walk in the halls in high school, I already knew that the music business and entertainment was going to be my thing. I wasn't carrying around social studies books. I was carrying how to succeed in the music business. And in the 80s when the labels all had the control and everything, I dreamed of a time like this. I prayed for it. Like
yeah.
when when can it be just a level playing field on who works the hardest and
Mm-hmm.
who comes up with the coolest shit?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're so right because even maybe 10, 15 years ago, there was a time where you pretty much had to have a record deal. You couldn't really be an independent artist where pretty much not every band has to have a record deal now. You can be an independent artist. You can do it your way. It's, a lot harder, but at the same time, if you reap the rewards and you're successful at what you do, then, the majority of the money that should ends up in your hands as opposed to the guy at the record label.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and for the people listening, so do the expenses.
Exactly.
They,
That's what I'm
they
saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
they end
So
up in my hands too. I got to pay for everything. But at the same time, yeah, you get a lot more creativity to be in there because somebody's not saying this is my $1 million and I want you to play it like
yeah,
this. So it's a lot of fun, and like I said, being a creative person, I like to build the song and then
sure.
build the stage and then bring it on tour and present the show. So
And I haven't seen you. I've never seen the band play out live personally, but I imagine just from watching some of your videos, the live performance of this band must be quite theatrical. At the same time, you don't have to get made up. But like I love a lot of your imaging. Like you watch the video, and it's almost kind of like Kiss. The way you guys are dressed up in the video almost kind of looks like superheroes, cowboy skulls. I don't know what you want to call it, but
yeah,
it's fun to watch. And
yeah,
you almost have like created these characters, animated characters of yourself, and it's cool. So like you could make an animated movie, you could make a Dead Cowboys
yeah,
um,
you
thing
know,
like that, and you look very different than you're looking now. But that's cool. That's a cool aspect. You're a very creative guy, I can tell.
You've got to let it just roll and see what happens. But there's some live footage on our YouTube that you can watch and see the 10-foot tall monster come out during Demon Desperado, and the graveyard and all that stuff. So there's a lot of really cool things going on,
And do you
and
guys have
we're
much chance to play
just
out live?
finishing up the. Yeah, we did 12 shows last year. We've got 20 on the books right now and 20 that are tentative. So we could be looking at 40 to 50 shows coming starting in the
I
spring.
was curious,
So
have you played like kind of all over? Like you said, Europe is really taking the band. You guys played there?
I did in other bands, but hopefully this one can go over there. It's
At
all
least
about
they're
making those connections,
yeah, at least
which
they're buying the music,
I
like you
don't
said.
have.
I do know a lot of European fans are really loyal to the metal bands, and sometimes artists find they do better overseas than they do here. Yeah,
Well, that's true because I'm like, hey, we're selling a shit ton of stuff, online downloads and everything, and all of the or would it be accolades, or is
yeah,
that the word to use, are
yeah,
coming from, like I said, it's England, it's Portugal, it's Spain, Italy, so Germany. I'm
yeah.
like, well, let's just go over there and see what happens, maybe in the fall or
And as an
something.
artist and a songwriter, Bobby, that's got to be the greatest feeling to think that, you know what? Okay, it's one thing for people to be buying our music here in the United States where a band is from, but people are buying the album in parts of the world where I've never even stepped foot in, or the band's never played live.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
got to be a
that's
great
cool,
feeling.
huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, with the name the Dead Cowboys, I was curious. There's obviously kind of a cowboy theme to the band. Were you always into westerns and cowboys, or did it become a thing with the once you formed the band?
No, no, I've always been into that. My mom was a city mouse and my dad was a country mouse. He came from the hills of Tennessee.
Yeah,
So as a kid, I'm listening to Kiss Alive and Destroyer when they came out.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm going, all right, these are cool. And then my
yeah,
dad would be on the other side of the room going, you need to listen to Waylon.
yeah.
you know? And he was very much into Western films and stuff like that. So both of those things happened, and throughout the childhood and watching, going back to Dukes of Hazzard and things like that, I always thought, what would it be like if Kiss made a Western album or a country
Yeah.
record? Because
Yeah.
I was a total Kiss goon. I still am. And they never did. So I thought,
Yeah. Yeah. I don't
well,
know if you
what
I don't
if
know if you've
I
heard I don't
write it?
know.
What if I
Yeah.
put.
I don't know if you've heard this, but on the new Kiss box set for Dress to Kill, I don't know if you had a chance to get that, or you could probably find it online. There's this unreleased demo they never put out. It's called Mistake. Paul Stanley singing it, and it sounds very countryish, and I can see that's probably why he got left off the album. But just guys having fun in the studio. Yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh. It,
yeah,
it probably sounded more like the one of the early Wicked Lester things, and they're like, well, we can't sound like that anymore.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
we got to move
Um,
on, you
yeah.
know.
And so I don't know if I had a chance to talk to you since, but being the Kiss fan you are, I'm sure you were really affected by the death of Ace Frehley.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's sad, and
yeah. That
and
sucks, but
yeah, yeah, it's life. It happens, but he'll be remembered. He left a huge legacy behind, not just with Kiss, but his own solo career. And so we'll always remember Ace.
yeah,
And light one for Ace every year. But anyways,
yeah.
we're talking
Unfortunate,
about
unfortunate enough to
Cowboys.
have one of his guitars,
Oh, really?
huh?
Wow,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. I've got one of his guitars autographed, so
Oh,
it's
that's cool.
that's my prize collection. I got that next to a couple of my Paul Stanleys and a Bruce Kulick that I have, and
Oh, wow.
my Gene Simmons bass.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
so yeah, I'm one of those Kiss goons where I
It's
had
all
a
right.
lot of stuff, but
We're a huge crowd.
20 years ago, 20 years ago, I lost most of my collection to a flood in my house.
Oh, wow.
So I really now I had no desire to try to collect all this shit again. So it was if I'm gonna get Kiss things, they gotta be cool things.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
gotta
yeah.
mean something. So I got my pinball machine, I've got a few of their guitars,
Wow,
and
wow. You are a fan. I mean, I heard John Five, from Motley Crue, he opened up his own Kiss museum because he's got so much
yeah,
Kiss
yeah.
memorabilia. Yeah,
Yeah, I could have maybe done a small
version.
walkthrough trailer of it, you like at a carnival with my stuff before the flood. But what do you do?
Yeah,
You
yeah,
don't cry over things that won't cry over you. You just
yeah,
move on and do it. So,
yeah. What's cool about what you're saying is,
we'll
like you
throw a
said,
couple Kiss songs in the set too, just to.
oh, that's cool. Yeah. Well,
What's that?
I was saying, how cool that you're able to get like a Kiss pinball machine. I mean, costs a little money, I bet, but it's something fun. It's as a Kiss fan, every Kiss fan would want. But that's pretty cool. You have
Well,
that.
I was lucky enough
Yeah.
to find it before the reunion tour when things like that went up.
Yeah.
I was touring in a group called Strutter at the time.
Oh wow.
And so we were playing a lot of the Kiss conventions before they ever thought about putting their makeup on again,
Uh,
and ran across somebody who had one and bought it. So
yeah.
I've had that
Bobby, I
thing
don't know
for
if you've had
30
yeah,
years.
if you had a chance to go to Las Vegas. Do you ever go to Las Vegas? They have this huge pinball museum. They have every kind of pinball. Like they have like a monster, the Monsters TV show. They had a pinball machine. Every they had
Yeah.
like a Indiana Jones. Every possible kind of pinball machine you could think of, and they have their Kiss.
Yeah. Yeah.
And finally, I gotta
I've got
say,
a
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say I have also have a Dracula machine, the
Oh,
Bram Stoker with the that
oh,
they did in
cool.
the 90s. One
How
of
cool
those.
is
And
that?
on the next interview we do,
Uh,
I'll give you a little show of my room.
okay, that's something to look forward
I'll
to.
walk us in there
Yeah.
and show you some of those cool things.
And I think what has been missing from the rock world. John Bon Jovi used to kind of think of himself as a rock and roll cowboy, but I think you're picking up right where he left off. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, like I said in that last interview, a lot of the metal bands have touched on it.
uh,
You listen to Run to the Hills. That's a
yeah,
heavy Western tune,
yeah,
And Wanted Man by Rat,
sure,
Blind in
sure,
Texas
yeah,
is a great song about cowboys getting rowdy,
yeah.
and that's in our show. We do those songs because
Wow.
that's what I wanted to do. Back in the Saddle by Aerosmith.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Songs that had to do with trains. So we do Train and Flirting with Disaster and Rhinestone Cowboy and The Gambler, but we make The Gambler sound like Typo Negative did it.
yeah,
So we changed everything, and then we put that in with our own originals and give people a good two
good.
hour show of cool
Wow,
shit.
yeah.
And
Um,
I learned a lot of that from Alice.
oh
So,
yeah. Oh, Alice, I
you
love
know,
Alice. I seen Alice a few years ago at the Orange County Fair, which is a lot smaller than what he's typically plays, and still he put on the ultimate rock show. He's like got to be 75, 76, something like that, but he's still I think I dare say he's better now than he was in his prime. He's
yeah.
getting better and better. So Alice is really
And
the
he's in
ultimate.
three bands.
Yeah, yeah.
Guys
Alice is
in
really
three
the
bands,
yeah
does
ultimate
300
showman.
shows a
Yeah,
year.
yeah.
You know,
So
he'll
Bobby, when you
show the
guys do
kids how
play
to
out
do it.
live, do you ever throw like your cowboy hat out in the audience or anything like that?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've got all kinds of things, and what I touched on the last interview was my Almost Cooper show, which raises money for the Alice's Solid Rock Teen Center. So we had the Frank and Alice made by his guys, the
Oh
same
wow.
one. So there's only two in the world, Alice's and mine, and I have a guillotine. We don't
Oh,
use guillotine in the show, but
sure.
we do hang me.
Wow.
Uh, and we used the Frankenalice. That's how the song Demon Desperado came about, because I was like, well, I want to use them in the show, but what could I do? And I was looking at cover songs, and I thought, you know what? I'm just going to write one.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I wrote the Demon Desperado for the monster, and now he wears a big mask and a poncho.
Yeah.
It's cool,
Well,
It,
yeah.
it
As we
freaks
wrap it
people
up
out.
for today,
When he
Bobby.
comes out,
Yeah, yeah. As we wrap it up for today, I'd like to
I,
thank you for
I was going to
bringing
say, when
back
he
that
comes
old.
out,
Yeah, I was saying, thanks for bringing up
everybody's
the.
phones come up and they film the shit out of it.
Oh wow. Okay. Anyways,
Huh?
as we close it up for today, as I was saying, I want to thank you for bringing back the Wild West and the old Western kind of influence to your band and what you do, because it's been missing like since the heyday, like Bonanza and all that stuff. But it's making a little bit of a comeback. But I think you're definitely bringing it back. So thanks for that.
Well, I'm not even bringing it back. I'm reinventing it. It's as if Black
Exactly.
Sabbath was the soundtrack to some of the westerns, and
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
A different take of the story. Like I said, Kiss never did a country record, so I wrote one.
So, yeah, there you
And
go.
it's
There you go.
it's heavy and fun.
Okay, so
So
as we
anyway,
wrap
we'll
it,
see you in a couple weeks for the next one, right?
and which is the next one going to be? What's the song?
The next one or the song is on the album. It'll be a single called "The Devil You Know," and
The
it's
Devil
really
You
just the
Know.
transition between the lake and when the preacher becomes demon desperado and goes ballistic and kills everyone in town.
Okay, well, thank you,
So
Bobby,
you
for
want to
doing
pay
this.
attention to that
I
one. These videos are gonna they start getting violent.
Well, that's always fun. Then you'll need a warning, I guess, for people to watch
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
No warning. Let people suffer. You
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Censor
Actually,
this,
warnings
right?
help you sell records. Don't
Exactly.
don't watch this. Will get everyone to watch it. Whatever you do not turn this on.
Exactly.
So
That's why
yeah,
this kind of music has outlasted even the PMRC. They got censored, you know?
yeah. They were a great thing.
Oh, yeah.
you know, they boosted the sales quite a bit.
Okay,
All
yeah,
right. Well, we'll
Bobby.
see you in a couple
See you in a few
weeks, huh?
weeks. Take care, my friend. Bye bye.
All right. Thanks. Have a good one.